Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Rishika, and I'm a talent acquisition professional with a little over about 13 years of experience. Um, I have had the opportunity to work with different companies, different industries. I've had the privilege of working and setting up different processes across different companies that I've been a part of, different teams that I've been a part of. So I thought, with this particular session that we are doing today, I could share a few insights with all of you. I could share a few tips and tricks with the student generation of today that could help you guys in preparing for the interviews, the upcoming interviews, campus interviews, and of course, help you in your career journeys ahead. So without further ado, I'd like to start with this session. Now, couple of things guys are going to be touching upon is, how do we prep up for these interviews? Of course, that is going to be the underlying factor that we're going to be discussing. What are the typical pointers or the do's and don'ts that we should keep in mind as far as the corporate arena is concerned from a soft skills perspective, from a basic corporate etiquette that we guys need to keep in mind. What are the must haves that we guys should focus on? And right now, with the development of technology and with the pace at which we guys are accelerating in terms of the new processes and newer technologies that are coming into play, it's very very essential that we guys keep ourselves updated. There's a extensive focus, and corporates today are laying equal importance and emphasis on what are the kind of certifications that you guys have. So it's important to kind of understand what are those places and what are those different kind of certifications that you can look at. Interviews, typically there's a lot of there are a lot of mixed feelings about interviews, because people feel that it's like you're entering into a board exam, and you really don't know how you're going to fare out and what's the interview is going to ask, or how things are going to be during those 15-20 minutes of judgment that you guys are going to undergo. But it's okay, I mean, it's fine. Of course, no two interviews can be the same, no two interviewers can be the same, and every organization, every industry has a different set, different pattern of the kind of interviews that they follow. So a few tips and tricks on that as well. So yeah, this is what we guys are going to be talking about. um Moving on. Hi everyone. Hi Rupesh. Hi Mandeep. Hi Yogender. Hi everyone. Okay, great. Now, starting on with the session. So there are a couple of things, that we guys need to be aware of. There are more don'ts and less do's that we have to keep in mind when we are in the corporate, because the misconception is कि आपके ऊपर observation तभी आती है when your performance appraisal comes into play, but that's not really the case. You've got all your eyes on you, you've got people observing you, and they are kind of taking cues from your behavior from the time that you enter the company, from the time you enter the premises, and that starts at any stage. You could be joining a company as an intern, आप मैनेजमेंट ट्रेनी ज्वाइन कर रहे हो, आप ग्रेजुएट इंजीनियर ट्रेनी एज अ ट्रेनी ज्वाइन कर रहे हो. It could be anything. I mean, anything under the sun that you are joining the organization. You're going to be having a lot of eyes. You're going to be having a lot of people who are going to be observing you. So one is very very, one, you have to tread your paths very very carefully. You have to be very very careful on how you manage your steps. So uh, that is of course what you need to keep in mind. uh, I think the underlying factor for all of this is that you need to maintain your honesty. You need to maintain your calm and composure. You need to be very, very certain about what you are presenting about yourself as an individual, as a personality. You should not be coming across as someone who's very, very stern. You should not be coming across as someone who's very full of himself, very pompous, very proud. कहते हैं ना कि इसमें बहुत attitude है, so you should refrain from having people form such opinions about you. And whatever you say, whether you're appreciating someone, or whether you are seeking help, or whether you are in need of, support, or anything of that sort, it should come across as something which is very, very genuine and honest. Don't make it sound and don't make it look as if, it's you're just doing it because aapko apne brownie points banane hain. So you have to kind of, take that into consideration. Okay, Arshpreet has a question over here. I'm an engineering fresher and I want to learn how to make an impact on entry level job student from a mechanical background. Okay, Arshpreet, you'll be happy to know that the organizations today, they're shifting gears. They're coming back to the conventional and the core branches, as compared to focusing only on the traditional, or I should say, the last few years, the focus that has been completely on only on CSIT and EC kind of branches. A lot of organizations are now, with the blessings of Narendra Modi ji, there's a lot of, kind of focus that is coming in for industrialization and for companies to set up their bases over here. uh, I would say it is not specific to an engineering student. Whatever, points that we guys are going to be discussing over here, uh, it's going to be typically from a student generic standpoint. It could be, you could be a master's student, you could be an engineering student, you could be any student from any field. It does not necessarily have to refrain or restrict it only to the stream of engineering or management or graduate. So my experience across has been different industries. So I would not want to limit, these tips and tricks to any particular one genre. So that's on, of course, the do's and don'ts. Now that's we discussed more on the don'ts. Now the do's is that communication today in organization plays a very, very important role. So some of you or most of you who are undergoing their courses, there's business communication as a language that a lot of institutes and universities and colleges are promoting, because that's typically the way that you have to converse in an organization: emails, memos, drafts, drafting MOMs, meetings of minutes. So that's typically the way of how, the communication goes by. So you have to learn to follow the 7 C's of communication. You have to ensure that every email or every content or every message that you're passing to the person ahead, whether it is your boss or whether it is your junior or whether it's your immediate peer for that matter, please ensure that you follow the 7 C's of communication. You need to be very, very careful with your words. People do not have the time and energy to read long mails. So like William Shakespeare said, brevity is the soul of wit. So we need to follow that today. Definitely in the corporate arena, अगर आपके college से भी अगर लंबी mails आ जाती हैं, so you kind of put it, you kind of flag it off and you say that, okay, I probably read it at a later time. So ensure that you follow 7 C's. Your communication is crisp and clear. You need to be very, very accurate. You need to be very honest. You need to be very, very certain about the data that you are presenting. And of course, like I said at the beginning, it should not come across as projecting yourself as somebody who is above, over and above the other person that you're talking to. So humility is what one should continue to maintain in the organizations and in the corporate sphere. So that's typically, a few tips and tricks around the do's and don'ts of the corporate world. Now, corporate etiquettes. This is something which is, of course, not very exhaustive. I am no master in this. I am also still learning, and we're all learning, with the way things are progressing today in different cultures and different organizations. Uh, and like they say, a company's culture is reflected by the kind of people who drive it, because an organization is made up of different kinds of people coming in from different diverse backgrounds. So what the organizations are, today, whether you want to join a McKinsey or you want to join a PwC or you want to join even a TCS for that matter, it's because of the company cultures that, that they promote. So it is very, very important that you blend yourself with the organization's culture. Uh, Okay, someone has put up a question over here. All tech industries mention CSE or relevant as eligibility even for internships and can a non-tech background person shift to a tech industry? See, Pranav, thanks for that question, and I think it's very, very relevant today because I understand children of your nature, of your age. There's a lot of turmoil that you guys face today. Uh, Companies ask for a particular stream, um, and they kind of go headstrong with that. At the end of the day, and I would say this is this is applicable to both the parties, the student and the organizations. You need to be open to what is coming your way. From a student standpoint, if you are going to be looking at only CS or IT or specific software driven roles, then it's going to be a tough, walk or a tough journey that you guys are going to be treading on. But if you guys are going to be open for any new roles that come your way, you are, ready to kind of face on the challenges that the industry throws at you or the company throws at you, then I don't really see whether you come from a CS background or you come from an IT background or you come from mechanical background. If you're happy doing what you're doing, if you're able to do justice to your 4 years or whatever number of years of education that you've put in, additional education after schooling that you guys have done in, no work is too small, and we're all learning at the end of the day. If you have that want and zeal to learn, you can definitely conquer anything in the world. So have that bent of mind that, you know, um, you need to kind of be open to whatever that comes your way, right? I hope that answers your question. Moving on, of course, there are the basics, of course, kind of they kind of hold true even today when you're in a corporate setup. The basics, uh, like your non-verbal communication, because unlike a college or an informal setup, a corporate setup is where you you have limited conversations, because you don't really kind of open up with everybody. You will have your set of people that you kind of open up with. So you need to be very, very sure of how you present yourself, and that of course is also reflective in the kind of non-verbal cues that we guys give out. So your body language, whether you maintain eye contact, if you're doing a lot of hand gestures, if you're restricting, kind of communication to come in, if you're sitting like this and kind of raising your eyebrows and kind of giving that kind of a expression to your manager, to your boss, then obviously it's going to give out a different connotation. So you should refrain from giving out such non-verbal cues. You should look out, you should, I mean, you should not just talk confidently, but your overall demeanor should reflect and should kind of emulate a lot of positivity, and of course it should reflect confidence about in the overall person and the kind of personality that you're trying to project to the outside world. So try and present yourself as somebody who's very, very confident, and of course that should also be reflective in the non-verbal cues that and the non-verbal gestures that you're reflecting in the organization. Okay, Pranav has another question that he's put up. Okay, how would resume even clear as short listings if CSE is not mentioned in the resume? Well, Pranav, my answer to that question is, if you put everything in the resume, what do you talk about in the interview? So today, like I said, and that's that's what I mentioned earlier on as well, that brevity is the soul of wit. You need to have limited information that is mentioned in your resumes. Okay, today even people with 25 or 30 years of experience, they are finding it difficult to crunch down their content, crunch down their experience, and put it in a one page. So it's important that you learn to put out only those details which you feel are important to be mentioned in a document, and you restrict some content with yourself. That's it's it's very important that you keep little bit of an information to yourself, because in that case, then you would be able to have something to talk about. Because if everything is mentioned in your CV, then they might not really want to have an interview with you. They will just probably go through your CV and then put you along with the other students or the other CVs that are there in the pile. All right, okay, Jeet has another question. How should a student handle tough questions or gaps in their resumes? All right, okay. See, like I said in the beginning, it's about being honest. Don't put out yourself in an awkward situation by starting off a conversation to which you don't really know the end. Okay, or you should not mention something in your resume which you are not very sure of. Now, typically, when you are talking about gaps, it should not be reflective. Of course, that is whatever CV format that you guys are following, it should not be very, very clearly mentioned that, okay, 24 to 25, I was in class 10, 25 to 27, I was in class 12, uh, then 27 to 28, 1 year gap or something like that. Leave that part for a conversation. Now, when you discuss that conversation, you should have sufficient data. You should have rational and realistic reasons as to why that particular gap has come into picture. So you should be able to justify that particular gap, whether it is you've taken it for exam preparation, or whether you were working, or there was a family matter that you were attending to that required your attention, so you had a gap in your resume. So you should be able to justify that particular thing, and trust me, nobody's going to hold it against you. If you have a gap, it's all right. And it's not the case that people or students with gaps are not really considered eligible to be a part of the hiring process. Everyone's considered and everyone's given equal chances. How do you handle tough questions? To answer that, you first need to break the question. Okay, you need to understand what the interviewer is trying to analyze about you. Okay, and you first, in your own thought, you break the question into two halves, right? Remember, go back into your schooling, and when we guys used to be told that, okay, अगर आपको बहुत difficult word आता है, so आप क्या करते हो, उसको आप break down करते हो, right? You break it into maybe 3 letters, 5 letters, 7 letters, and then you join the entire word, and then that's how you spell it out, or that's how you word it out. Similarly, in the questions, you have to break the question into two halves or three halves, depending on what's the length of the question, and then you answer the question in points, right? The more precise you are in answering these questions, the more attention you will get from the interviewer. Okay. Interviewer is not looking at how good you are with your vocabulary, or how many fancy words you use in your interview. They are trying to understand whether you understand what they are trying to convey to you. Okay. So you have to get into their mind and see from their perspective, because to them you're a complete stranger. Now, how do they get the confidence of involving a stranger in their organization? Is by getting to know a little bit more about you, which can be through the way of question answer. And that's how the interview has come into play. It's just a dialogue between two strangers who don't really know one another. Yes, I'll come to that on how to build professional network. Moving on, corporate etiquettes, I think we guys are done. There is a lot of focus today that companies are giving on the kind of language that the internal, the way the internal communication goes. So, sorry, it's important that students today, or anybody for that matter, you do your check about the organization, and of course understand, kind of gather information about what is the company's culture and what is the typical way of communicating that these people have. It's good and it's important that you reach out to people of that particular organization on LinkedIn. And Duha, I think that should answer your question. I think LinkedIn is the best way that we can build our professional network. Conversations, discussions over there, they are very, very insightful, they're very informative. Don't just do the traditional thing of going and looking at the company website. Follow the company on YouTube. Look at if the company has any information on any press releases that they have had. Go and follow the company page on LinkedIn. See what kind of information they are posting over there. See who are the top leaders of that particular organization. That will also give you a hint and a sneak peek into what is a typical trend and what is a typical culture of that particular organization. Are they very, very rigid in their thought? Are they very inclusive? Do they only talk of inclusivity, or do they actually kind of practice inclusivity by way of different activities or different engagements or different events that they are doing in the organization? So it's important that you stay updated, and that's of course not just for Duha, but anybody who wants to be a part of the corporate industry. It is very important that you stay connected. um, Reading, there is no second, or I should say another way out other than reading. So it's important that you read up about the organization, and not just about the organization, but about, of course, what's happening in the world as well, which is why our parents and our teachers used to tell us, when we were kids, that it's important that you spend at least an hour and a half of reading the newspaper. So try and take out that little bit of time, uh, understand, go through the newspaper, not just going through the headlines, but kind of try and grasp what is actually happening in the world. Gone are the days when the interviewers will ask you questions about the current affairs. But yes, if you're aware, it will definitely bring you a notch ahead as compared to the other students who may not be aware and informed about what is happening in the world. So in your school or in your college or in your universities, it's a small little world. It's a very protected and a very sheltered environment that we get to live. Similarly, in our personal setup at our homes, it's a very, very protected environment that we guys are dealing with. But out in the industry, you are there on your own. There is no faculty, there is no teacher. As a matter of fact, your boss also will only kind of vouch for you, and they will kind of appraise you, and they'll kind of push your candidature or push for your promotions when they know that you have that ability. आपके अंदर अगर वो capability है, आपके अंदर अगर वो fire, वो spark है, only then they will be able to push your growth journeys ahead. So of course, that's very, very important. Moving on, with the kind of certifications, or before we move on to the certifications, I think it's important that we talk a little bit about the soft skills. Now, today, organizations are playing a very, very important emphasis, and they're paying a lot of heed to the kind of soft skills that we have. So soft skills does not mean कि आप कितने स्वीटली और कितने अच्छे तरीके से किसी से आप बात करते हो. Communication is not the only aspect under soft skills. There's a lot of other factors as well. How are you in a team? Do you perform in a team? Are you able to take up a task, or individually? Are you the one who drives the team together, or are you the one who's like a silent performer? काम दे दिया, एक कोने में बैठ के आप वो काम कर रहे हो. So you need to have that ability to work in a team, because it's all about teamwork and different, अगर आपका individual contributor profile है, इवन देन आपको टीम वर्क करना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज आप डिफरेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स या डिफरेंट फंक्शंस के साथ कोलैबोरेट और पार्टनर कर रहे होगे फॉर डेटा. So it's important that you kind of it's important that you kind of build that partnership, and kind of look at how you kind of want to kind of do that internally. It's very, very important that you build that rapport and that collaboration, to focus on the teamwork. That's going to be the typical way of working around. You need to be a problem solver. आपके पास लोग problems लेके आएंगे, आपको solution provide करना है. Don't always be the one who gets up from the chair and he says that, oh my god, how do I kind of handle this problem? या अपने boss के पास you go out crying. Try and look out for all possible ways and means of identifying a solution to that particular problem. Have that problem solving ability, have that problem solving skill. अगर problem का solution नहीं मिल रहा है, तो जो पॉसिबल आपके पास ऑप्शंस हैं, लिस्ट देम डाउन एंड देन गो to your superior and to your manager and see what is the best way out that you can come out of it. Okay. In organizations today and the kind of world and the kind of industries that we're looking at today, it's very important that we learn how to work during pressure. Now, there are different ways, there are different schools of thought. Um, there are people who are saying that we need to work for X number of hours a week, only then we will succeed and only then we will kind of go up the ladder. But um, it's at the end of the day how much that you want to give into your jobs. Okay, it's important, and at the end of the day, any role or any job that you're performing, you need to derive happiness out of it. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि आप कोई भी पर्टिकुलर जॉब में हो या आप कोई ऐसे टास्क कर रहे हो या कोई आपकी एक ऐसी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है जहाँ पे आपके ऊपर बहुत प्रेशर है, आपको नहीं करना है, देन यू स्टिल डूइंग इट, इसका मतलब ये है कि आपको वो चीज करनी नहीं है, आप इसलिए कर रहे हो बिकॉज आपको बताया गया है वो करने के लिए, राइट? हमको बताया जाता है, हमारे पेरेंट्स बताते हैं कि मेरे को इंजीनियरिंग करनी है, मेरे को मेडिकल करना है या मेरे को ग्रेजुएशन यहाँ से करनी चाहिए या मास्टर्स या एमबीए यहाँ से करनी चाहिए। बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे वो 8 घंटे या 9 घंटे हम जाके नौकरी करते हैं, राइट? Of course, it is important and it should always be there that we, look up to our elders and look up to our family members and senior professional members and mentors in the industry for their support and for their advice and for their, of course, experience that they hold. But at the end of the day, the decision making authority is with you. So you should be aware of all these things. Any common myths that the student should be aware of about corporate jobs? Okay, I'm not very sure whether I should actually share this or not. There are no corporate myths, there are just realities which are kind of termed as myths around because a lot of people and a lot of students feel that when you are working in a corporate setup, it's very hunky dory. You're drawing a fancy salary, you're going to a fancy office, you're dressing up, and it's like another social event that you're attending. You're meeting different people from different walks of life, and that it's very fancy and everything. So the reality is that yes, you will kind of experience all of this, but at the end of the day, you're also there for a reason. Don't take undue advantage of the organization or the benefits that the organization gives you. Now, I would like to share a very, very important aspect in this regard. Today, a lot of companies have actually changed the way they work. They are changing the entire look and feel of how jobs are, by providing either a work from home, uh, completely work from home kind of a profile, or they will tell you कि हाइब्रिड मॉडल है, आप हफ्ते में 1 दिन या महीने में 1 दिन आ जाओ। अगर वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का कल्चर है, देन द ओनस इज ऑन यू। आपको खुद को पता होना चाहिए कि ठीक है, अगर मेरे 8 वर्किंग आवर्स हैं या 9 वर्किंग आवर्स हैं, कितना मैं अगर घर से काम कर रहा हूँ या घर से काम कर रही हूँ, कितना ही मुझे आगे उसको टाइम देना है। या मेरी पर्सनल कमिटमेंट्स हैं तो मैं कितना उनको अटेंड कर सकता हूँ या कर सकती हूँ इन द मिडस्ट ऑफ माय वर्क स्केड्यूल्स, राइट? सिमिलरली, अगर आप ऑफिस में हैं, अगर आपके कोई पर्टिकुलर ऑफिस टाइमिंग्स हैं, सो यू शुड अडहियर टू दैट दोस पर्टिकुलर ऑफिस टाइमिंग्स, राइट? एट द एंड ऑफ द डे अगेन, इट आल्सो डज नॉट मीन कि क्योंकि आप सिर्फ ऑफिस में हैं, आप सिर्फ उसी टाइम पे काम करेंगे, राइट? अगर आप ऑफिस में हैं फॉर एक्स नंबर ऑफ आवर्स और अगर आपके मैनेजर या आपके बॉस आपको रीच आउट करते हैं जब आप घर वापस आ जाते हैं अपनी फैमिली के पास, या अगर आप कोई और काम कर रहे होते हो, तो वो ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है कि अब मैंने शट डाउन कर दिया है और मैं अब कल सुबह ही जाके ये चीज को अटेंड करूंगा या अटेंड करूंगी, राइट? द सैड पार्ट अबाउट मोबाइल फोन्स इज दैट पीपल कैन रीच आउट टू यू एनी टाइम एनीवेयर, राइट? सो यू नीड टू kind of pay heed to it. You need to look into that aspect as well and attend to the priorities in the list or in the order that you feel that it is important. Okay, अगर आपको बोला जा रहा है कि काम आपका important है या कोई एक आप important project कर रहे हो, and you have a parallel family commitment, that's kind of coming across, then you need to learn to balance it out, right? Uh, Corporates are not just about, you know, your fun Fridays, or I should say, they are not just about performance appraisals. Corporates are also about the learning graphs that you build. So the students generation today should not just look at the compensation that the companies are offering. There's a paradigm shift in what the companies see today. Like when I, as a campus recruiter, visit campuses and visit institutes, and when we interview students and young minds like all of you, and when we hear your thoughts, about the expectations that you have, it's very difficult for us to kind of understand, because not so long ago we were also in your shoes. We were also sitting for campus placements like this, and we were also, we also had a lot of aspirations कि हमें भी अच्छी नौकरी मिले, हम भी अच्छी कंपनीज ज्वाइन करेंगे and everything. But जब हम आज के बच्चों को सुनते हैं, when I discuss the candidates, and when we discuss feedback with the technical panel, and we're a little startled, because we don't really know where the thought lies, whether the thought is only circling around how much money am I going to be making, और whether the thought is कि मैं दिल्ली में ही जॉब करना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि मेरी सारी एजुकेशन या मेरा सारा ग्रेजुएशन या मेरी सारी whatever, मेरी एजुकेशन और मेरी सारी अंडर ग्रेड और मेरा पोस्ट ग्रेड सारा यहीं पर हुआ है. So I don't want to come out of the comfort zone. If I, as a Delhi girl, I'm sent to a remote location to set up an entire project over there, or set up an entire, I don't know, a particular base for something that my organization is trusting me on, I should feel happy कि मुझे, if मेरे ऊपर company इतना trust कर रही है, and I should go ahead with it. But the challenge is that students today, or the children today, do not want to take up these particular newer challenges, and these new opportunities that come their way. So it's important that you come out of the comfort zone. Okay. uh, every corporate does not mean a typical 9 to 5. So there are different organizations, there are different industries. Though I hope I've answered your question to that. But before you go ahead and you understand what are the myths about corporate, I think, in my opinion, you all should kind of first, uh, with a calm mind, take a piece of paper, take a pen, and put down what are those companies that you want to be a part of. So you need to first understand your own goals. Where do they lie? And what is it that you are aspiring for? And then accordingly go back and rank yourself. आपको उसके हिसाब से, for example, अगर आप अपने आप को सोचते हैं कि you want to be a part of, say, Google, or you want to be a part of, say, a McKinsey or a PwC for that matter, go back to the drawing board and see आपके पास वो क्या skill set है that will help you scale up, or that will enable you to be a part of the team at PwC. So it's very important that आप अपने आप को उसके level तक लेके आए, right? Because job सिर्फ इतनी ही है, but talent हमारे पास इतना है. So you really, there's a lot of competition that you guys are facing, and everyone is a part of this rat race. So how you kind of succeed at this rat race, and how you kind of reach the finish line, is totally dependent on you. आपको रेस तक लेके जा सकते हैं आपके सपोर्टर्स, आपके फैकल्टी मेंबर्स हैं, और आपके फैमिली मेंबर्स हैं, और आपके कैंपस में प्लेसमेंट टीम है, बट रेस आपको अपने आप ही करना है. You need to kind of uh, go ahead and run that particular marathon. It's totally up to you. So you need to figure it out for yourself. uh I think we have covered soft skills, GD, and the interview conduct. I think this is a section probably that will interest you. Now, I think by now we all understand how to crack GDs. There's a lot of information, of course, that's available, and your seniors must have told you कि या तो GD start कर दो, या GD end कर दो, conclude कर दो, या बीच में से अगर कोई बोल रहा है तो 2-4 पॉइंट्स उनके चोरी करके अपना उसमें से थोड़ा-सा ऐड करके just kind of hijack the conversation so that all the eyes and all the attention is on you. But that's typically not the way to do it. You need to understand how a group discussion goes. You need to understand the crux and the conversation that is happening in the room. You need to be present. You need to be presenting data. You need to be presenting facts. A lot of time it happens जब students converse कर रहे होते हैं group discussion में, it is all just faff. There's no authenticity to it. There is no facts and you can't kind of authenticate it. There is no data. There is no statistics to it. तो जब भी आप कोई पॉइंट प्रेजेंट करो, इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट कि आपके पास रेलेवेंट डिटेल्स और रेलेवेंट फैक्ट होना चाहिए, टू बी एबल टू क्रैक दैट कॉन्वर्सेशन. Secondly, don't hijack the conversation. A group discussion is a discussion. It is not a conversation that is happening between just 3 or 4 people. You have to involve people. One common point that a lot of students forget during group discussion is कि वो आपका conversational skills नहीं test कर रहे हैं. That is one of the many factors that they are testing. वो आपकी analytical skills test कर रहे हैं, जो बैठे हुए हैं, जो judgment में वहाँ पर आपका group discussion कर रहे हैं, वो ये discuss कर रहे हैं among themselves as a panel कि ये student की analysis ठीक है या ये student का analytical bent of mind ठीक है. As a team ये कैसे perform कर सकते हैं? Do they kind of can they discuss or can they be a part of a team? Can they be a part of a group? Because कल को जब आप companies join करोगे, आप अलग-अलग individuals के साथ कोई ना कोई projects करोगे. You know, are you going to be able to crack the main problem? Are you going to be able to work as a team with so and so person coming, from different genres? Or are you just one person who is like a sole individual contributor? So those important factors are also taken into consideration, whether you want to go ahead or you don't really want to be a part of the group. So your group, your teamwork kind of comes into action. How you present yourself, how you present your facts, your presentation skills are taken into account, you know. So these are those small little things that, and over and above the communication aspect that the interviewers test during the group discussion, interviews, how to, or I should say, what are those factors that the interviewers look for? The interviews today, again, just like a lot of things, have also seen a change. There's a pattern that interviewers have today, and it's different. It's not the typical kind of interviews that you've seen. There are a few places, or there are a few links that you can go and see, probably the interview discussion in the movie Pursuit of Happiness, or maybe the interview that happened with that I think that guy's name is Massey. 12th Fail was the movie. I think if you should see that interview discussion that he has. So it's a very, very in-depth conversation that they're looking at, interviewers are looking at. They're looking at aapka analytical bent of mind. Of course, that is something that we discussed for the group discussion, so that holds true even for interviews. Your learning orientation, aapka learning appetite क्या है, आपका लर्निंग इंटेंट क्या है, आप लर्न कर सकते हैं या करना चाहते हैं या नहीं करना चाहते हैं. बिकॉज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे, जो आपने अपने कॉलेज में पढ़ा है, इट्स अ कंटिन्यूएशन कि आपने जो अपने स्कूलिंग में पढ़ा था 11th एंड 12th में, राइट? और आपकी इंटेंट थी उसी चीज को इन डेप्थ पढ़ने की, तभी आपने उस पर्टिकुलर कोर्स या सब्जेक्ट में अपना अंडर ग्रेजुएशन करी है. अब जब आप ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ज्वाइन करते हैं, तो आपको ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के पर्सपेक्टिव से ये देखना है कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आपके अंदर वो लर्निंग स्पार्क देख रहा है या नहीं देख रहा है. Are they looking at you as someone who is wanting to take up this particular challenging role or not? Do you have that bent of mind? Do you have that, that want, that desire, that hunger to learn more or not? So the learning orientation is something that they're looking at. How are you at executing things? How are you at planning things? And how are you at delivering the particular project? So your result orientation, your execution, and your planning skills are also taken into account. They are going to be testing all these particular things put together because आपको एक पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शन या एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दी जाएगी, आप उस पर्टिकुलर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी या उस पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शन या स्टेप के लिए यू गोना बी हेल्ड अकाउंटेबल फॉर इट। आप कैसे उस पर्टिकुलर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी को फुलफिल करते हैं, स्टेप बाय स्टेप अप्रोच से पहले आप प्लान करेंगे, फिर आप वो प्लान को एग्जीक्यूट करने के लिए छोटे छोटे अचीवेबल स्टेप्स चॉक आउट करेंगे। एंड देन फाइनली जो आपका अल्टीमेट गोल एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव है, हाउ डू यू फाइनली अचीव दैट, हाउ डू यू फुलफिल योर रिक्वायरमेंट और द ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस रिक्वायरमेंट, जो उनका ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का फाइनल गोल या अल्टीमेट उनका ऑब्जेक्टिव है। सो योर रिजल्ट ओरिएंटेशन इज ऑल्सो समथिंग दैट द कंपनी इज गोना बी लुकिंग एट। ओके, companies today are playing a very, very important role on how you as an individual or how you as a person come across and what is your own value system. आज के टाइम में हर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के मिशन एंड विजन तो बाय डिफॉल्ट रहते ही हैं, बट कंपनीज की वैल्यूज भी होती हैं, एंड अगर आप जीरो इन करें ना, मोस्टली कंपनीज की वैल्यूज मिलती जुलती हैं, यू नो सो आपकी अपना खुद का वैल्यू सिस्टम क्या है, व्हाट इज इट दैट यू फॉलो एज अ प्रिंसिपल और एज अ वैल्यू इन योर लाइफ, एंड आर यू aligned with the organization on those lines or not, is what is going to be taken into account. So it's very, very important that you look at the companies or you look at the organizations and you align your own personal values, your own personal beliefs with the company that you are approaching. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि कंपनी का इंटेंट और कंपनी का वे ऑफ वर्किंग कुछ है और आपका वे ऑफ वर्किंग कुछ है, यू नो बेसिक the underlying factor remains कि you have to follow integrity, you have to be honest, you have to have that hunger and that desire and that spark to learn more, right? And of course it's important that above all you are willing to take up the challenges that the company throws and the life throws at you. So it's important कि आप वो चीजें अपने ऊपर लें and you take it in your full stride. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि आपको कोई अनजान चीज या कोई अगर आपको ना करा हुआ या ना चीज उस पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट में आपको कोई एक्सपीरियंस ना हो and you're kind of pulled into it and then you kind of hush up and you say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do it because I don't have an experience with it. Experience पे आपको तभी मिलेगा when you start doing it, right? So it's important that you take up things in your stride, you take up things in the positive aspect, and then you move on with it and you learn from every experience or learn from every journey that you take up, right? Lastly, it's important that we should all of us, we should working on at least one USP for ourselves. It's important that हम कोई एक अपने बारे में कोई एक ऐसी चीज के ऊपर वर्क करें जो हमारी अपनी चीज, मतलब हमारे को अपनी यूनिक हो. इट शुड बी यूनिक टू माई सेल्फ. आई शुड नॉट बी कॉपिंग और इमिटेटिंग somebody else or some other friend of mine जो पैशन वो परस्यू करता है या जो इंटरेस्ट उसकी है वो सेम इंटरेस्ट और हॉबी मेरी है. आई मीन वी सीन सीरीज जहाँ पर सिर्फ पेरेंट्स के नेम अलग होते हैं या फोन नंबर्स अलग होते हैं, the exact copies of the CV, and multiple students have kind of copied the format. So it's comical, but it's sad also because it shows that the student lacks creativity, lacks interest, lacks that want and zeal to do something different, because it's easier to copy a resume rather than sit and make a resume. It requires a lot of thought process to draft your own CV. So try and look at drafting your own CVs, of course. And also, like I said, you should have at least one unique selling proposition that is a USP for yourself. You should have one USP that is only unique to you. So that's pretty much it from my side. We can open it up for questions. Yes, Rupesh has a question. What are the biggest challenges in transitioning the campus to corporate? Um, Life. What are the biggest challenges? Well, there are a lot of, I won't say challenges, I would say they're stepping stones. We should not look at them as a challenge. The moment you look at anything as a challenge or as a hurdle, you're going to step back 10 steps. So look at it as a stepping stone. The initial time, I think the initial phase of coming right out of campus and joining a whole new world, I think it takes a little bit of a time for you to adjust. I think adjustment to anything new takes time. I'm sure जब आप लोग स्कूल से कॉलेज आए थे तो तब भी आप लोगों को challenges आए होंगे, right? But you should come with an open mind. People will be at your age. People will be at a level which is going to be higher than you, or they're going to be elder to you. At the end of the day, you should have trust and faith in your abilities. You should have trust and faith in your work, and you should be confident about yourself. आपको कल को बोला जाएगा कि आपको जाके डायरेक्टर से बात करनी है, so you should not say, "Oh my God, मैं तो अभी ग्रेजुएट करके आया हूँ और मैं ग्रेजुएट इंजीनियर ट्रेनी हूँ, तो मैं जाके डायरेक्टर से कैसे बात कर सकता हूँ?" आप डायरेक्टर से वैसे ही बात करेंगे जैसे आप अपने मैनेजर या अपने कलीग से या अपने पेयर से बात करते हैं. डायरेक्टर कोई अलग इंसान नहीं है. He's not out of the world. He's not from an alien planet or anything of that sort. Okay, so you take your baby steps, understand the organization, understand the culture of the organization, and that takes time. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't jump to your opinions and decisions about things. Right? Take time, blend with the culture. Right? There's a saying that when in Rome, do as Romans. अगर आपका company का culture बोलता है that you have to be very, very particular, you have to be very, very formal, you can't be, chatty, and you can't be, having coffee conversations every now and then, or follow that practice. अगर आपकी कंपनी गूगल जैसी है या it's like any other budding it's a unicorn or it's an upcoming startup or something जहाँ पर you can build your relations, and there's an open door policy that they follow, and they will not hold it against you अगर आप कोई जाके suggestion देते हैं या कोई concern raise करते हैं. So go ahead, follow the culture, understand the culture, blend with the culture, and then it will be an easy and a smooth sail for you. So I hope, Rupesh, that answers your question. What are the key workplace etiquette rules that every fresher should know? It's by okay, it's name college. Okay, so I've already covered this point, but just to refresh, the audience over here, I think it's important that we understand how the typical companies or the organizations follow. What are the kind of work cultures they have? What is the kind of communication they have? What is the kind of leadership team they have, and what kind of you know aspects they are wanting to cover in terms of their vision. What is the vision or the growth that they are trying to cover? What is the growth journey? What is the trajectory of the organization? And how are you going to be able to contribute to that growth trajectory, right? Workplace etiquette, I think it's important. अगर आप company के बारे में Google करेंगे, there'll be a lot of information that should tell you. And I think you should be able to go and connect with people on LinkedIn and go and try and build your network in among your friend circle as well. See what are those, what opinions other people have to give about that particular organization. That will kind of give a lot of information, and that will help you kind of build on that. How can one handle, Gitanjali says, how can one handle workplace conflicts or misunderstandings professionally? Well, I am not very sure how to answer that because it depends on what kind of and what level of conflict it is. At first, one should avoid a conflict at any cost. Your conversations and your difference of opinion should not reach a stage of conflict. uh, every person in the organization, they come with different sets of thoughts. Everyone comes from a diverse background, and that's why a lot of companies today are laying a lot of emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So a lot of people come with diverse set of backgrounds and questions. I think as an individual, it is important that we put our point across, and at the same time have an open mind and an open ear to hear the other person as well. It should not be the case कि आप अपना point of view सिर्फ प्रोजेक्ट करना चाह रहे हो और अपना पॉइंट आप वहां पे प्रूव करना चाह रहे हैं, because of course that's going to give out a different impression and different image about you as an individual. So try and be open, and if you feel that the conflict is not really coming to a closure, it's best to approach your HR business partnering team or to approach your immediate superior, because they probably, as a third person, would be able to look at the perspective and look at things from a third person's or from an outsider's view. And then hopefully you should be able to kind of handle it. And at the end of the day, I think it's important कि अगर आपका कोई भी difference of opinion or disagreement अगर हो, वो settle हो जाए, it should be done and dusted. Don't hold it in your heart. The longer you hold it in your heart, the more pain it will give you, and the more difficult it will be to carry out your work. So don't have anything that is there holding on, you're holding on to. You should not have any grudges that you should hold on to. Leave it, move on, dust off. Life is, much more to all of this. And like they say, life is very short to be wasted in all these small little trivial things. So dust it off, have a conversation, go out for a coffee and just kind of laugh it off. That's typically the way that I look at it. How tough is it to enter corporate life after gapping? I think you meant after a gap, Himanshi. It's not tough at all. There are people, and today companies are actually bringing back mothers after maternity who've taken a maternity break. So there is return to work opportunities for even working mothers who kind of took a sabbatical and they're wanting to come back to the organization. So it's not difficult. It's, of course, the initial time, or the first job that you're able to crack after a gap is there's going to be a little bit of a challenge and a little bit of a struggle to kind of get there, but soon you'll be able to do that. What's the best way to identify the right certifications for your career goals? Aman, I think you first need to zero in what is the short term vision or the goal that you have for your specific area. What is it that you're looking at from your own personal growth journey perspective? How are you looking at progressing your own learning journey? So in the field of HR, if I feel that strategic HRM or analysis or analytical, concepts is something that I need to focus on, then I will zero in my certifications on that. Once I zero in on my certifications, of course, then I will also zero in on what are the institutes that I want to get those certifications from. Free certifications from LinkedIn and Coursera do not add value. So please, guys, you need to spend time, you need to spend your energy. If possible, you need to spend a little bit of money if you have, the resources available, and devote your 100% attention to it if you want something concrete out of it. Why is it that कि हम लोग स्कूल से ज्यादा, हमारे को पता है कि 12 साल में हमने स्कूल में कुछ सीखा है, या 3 साल की ग्रेजुएशन में हमने कुछ सीखा है, because we know that there is a cost to it, right? Everything has an ROI factor. Look at the ROI factor. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि 3 घंटे के सेशन में मुझे कुछ मिल रहा है, only then do that. Don't do it because you just want to flash your name on LinkedIn and you want to have appreciation coming your way. So do certifications which kind of meet you, and which is it in your interest, which kind of comes to you. So look at what is it that you want to do, and then kind of go ahead and follow those certifications. I hope that answers your question, Aman. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. I think we're good. I hope I've been able to do justice to the questions that have come up in the comment box. I will just do a quick glance again. I think majorly covered everything. Thank you so much, Sarabjeet. I hope you have fruitful takeaways from the session. Thank you, Purushottam. Thank you, Imanji. Thanks, Aman. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, great. I think we are good. Okay. All right. I'm assuming none of you have any questions. So You guys, thank you so much, Hindu. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Okay, guys, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. My name is Rishika Verma Vora. You can find me on LinkedIn. I am about pretty much active on LinkedIn, so you guys can reach out to me. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lamicon's team. Thank you for having me over. It was a very, very insightful session. I'm very, very happy with the kind of questions that have come in, and I hope I've been able to do justice to that. So, thank you so much. I wish all the people over here, all the young and the aspirants, all the very best. Duha, all the very best to you as well. Good luck to all the young budding minds. I hope all of you get selected and you find your dream jobs. Good luck, all the best. Stay well, stay blessed. Take care. Thank you. Bye bye.